Hello and welcome to another edition of the Under Centre podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Darren Marr, and I'm flying solo this week. But I am delighted to have a very special guest on. He has been on the show before. It's his second appearance on the show. He is the quarterback and offensive coordinator for the Dublin Rebels. That is Mr. Ty Henry. Ty, first of all, welcome back to the show. And how are you doing?
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm doing great. Can't argue. Life's pretty good.
Oh, life is pretty good when you are 8-0 and coming off a 60-0 win for sure.
Yeah, makes it a little better, but like everything. I just got off dad duty, so life's the best right now.
Yeah, you have that precious little bit of time where you have it to yourself and you don't have the kids, and you've decided to spend the talking football on a podcast. So we really appreciate the time for sure.
Yeah, of course. All I do.
So yeah, like I said, Dublin Rebels 8-0 this year. Fantastic season. Obviously, replicating what you did last year with having a perfect regular season too. Obviously finishing up the regular season with a 16-0 win away at the Belfast Trojans, the same Belfast Trojans you will face this Sunday in the semi-final of the playoffs, this time of course back in Palmerstown in De La Salle. Sort of a quick overview then from yourself, Ty, and how the season has gone. Like I mentioned, it was perfect in the regular season last year. It's continued that way this year. Have you seen, improvements on with the team since last year? I know I know score lines are very easy to look at, and they say, well, obviously because they're beating teams 40, 50, 60-0. But from yourself personally, seeing how the team has developed from last year to this year, have you been happy with the progress?
Yeah, definitely been happy with the progress. I think every week we've done a lot better job this year of instilling a couple other just processes that help team improve in every way. And we've kind of seen that, and those results have showed in the game, and we've been a lot less emotional about everything and a lot more process with it. And then a lot of the guys were first year players. I think we had 21 first year players last year. And so just getting those guys as second, third year players, it makes a whole, I think a game is worth about 15 trainings. So just every game you get is great, and it's a learning experience. And then it just gets us something to teach off of with the film. And then, it's definitely seen a lot of guys improve for sure.
Yeah. And like you mentioned there, with sort of rookies now coming into their second year, there is that more familiarity with scheme and obviously what to expect on a game day. And, with the rookies that have come in this year, how have you sort of tried to guide them in terms of getting them ready for games? Because it's always said, I think it's the same with any team, you would tell them training sessions are fine, but until you get your first hit on a game, you don't know if you're actually cut out to play football. And how do you feel like the team gets rookies ready for that first game when they do play with the Rebels?
So we actually kind of look at it the opposite way, where you definitely will get, I can think of 15 rookies we had this year that got hit in a game or got hit in training when it kind of all became real for them, and they said maybe not, let's hand those back, or I thought this would be okay. We had a lot of guys that were like power lifters that wanted to come down and try, and then once the added hitting element was added, they weren't really maybe in it as much because it would affect their sport. But we do a lot of repping before we hit, so we feel like they understand every rule, every where to line up, what's the point of this play, what's the overall scheme. They've done every rep of everything 100 times before we add the hitting element of the sport to it. And I think that's kind of the key to guys, is you wouldn't ask them to go straight into a full-on hitting session and make it all about hitting first. Get them taught everything, get them repping 11 on 11 as much as possible, and then introduce the pads. So I think that's been big for getting more guys.
And that's it. And have you sort of I know you mentioned there, you're saying about a couple of guys have sort of taken their first hit, given the pads back, saying no thank you sir, and I'll see you later. It can be anyone, like you mentioned. It can be the biggest bodybuilder with, like, say, a 2% fat percentage, or it can be like the the small chunky guy that will actually hold out there because he actually likes how it's played. Have you gotten an eye in your time playing football where you think you can sort of point out, okay, I think this guy has what it takes to continue on, or this guy maybe just I don't think will have it going forward.
I think it's yeah. Usually it's just how into it are they? Because I think football is all about reps, and you can maybe bring people. You can never turn a 2 out of 10 into a 10 out of 10, but I think everyone maybe has 4 or 5 points in them, or you can turn that 2 into a 7 if he's passionate. And then you see when he gets hit, does that second before contact, does he love it and pop back up, or does that, kind of make him fold? And I think it's just a personality thing. It doesn't make a person a better person or a worse person for it. It's just kind of how they're built. But some guys on the team, like we have a young kid, Dave King, and he's the first time I ever saw him play, I was like, that kid, he doesn't, maybe look like a freak or whatever, and he's got a bad haircut, but like he's meant to be a football player. So those ones are easier when they auto show it right away. They were meant
Yeah,
to do
look,
it.
Tyler, we all have stages where we have bad haircuts. We all have those stages. We have to forgive them for that.
That's my whole life, but Dave's are especially.
What is it? It's not the mullet, is it?
It's something in between. When I first met him, he had like a dyed yellow hair that was kind of high on top and going sideways, little flock of seagulls kind of look. And
Okay.
I was a bit worried, but he's come good.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, look, the helmet covers that up, so it's all good. So don't worry about that. What in terms, like I said, going to the season, overall, you know, this rivalry that has developed the last 2 years with UCD and yourselves, going back to the regular season last year, obviously when it was between you and them, the last two undefeated sides in the Premier Division, which of course you guys end up beating them. They beat you in the bowl last year, and then obviously this year you guys have played each other twice, and you've beaten them twice in the regular season. How do the Rebels see this now as a sort of a rivalry between sort of two great teams that can go on for a little longer? Do you feel you have to step your game up that little bit more against UCD?
I think we definitely do. I think both sides do, but I think we're trying to not fall trap into. Since I've been here, we've lost one game and it was to them, and I think maybe that we made that day too much of a thing, and then since then, if we let it capitulate or something, the word you would use there, but let it grow on itself and become more than just one game that, yeah, it happened to be the bowl and on the day they were better. But that doesn't have to be how it had to be the first game this year or the middle game of the season this year when we played them. And if we see them again in a bowl or if we see them next season, they're all their individual games. And, it's kind of like maybe more like the NFL where the teams are more even talent wise. And so it's really any given Sunday, and it's just put in the effort that week, respect them, respect respect all their good players, all their good coaching, but we're not playing, my coaches in Little League used to always have, sayings, it's not the 1985 Bears. So they're amazing, but also at the same time, don't let them become Goliath in your head. Just go play football and execute. And so that's kind of, I think, where the rivalry stands is maybe, we're not afraid of them. They're not afraid of us. Let's go play football.
Yeah, that's it. And like you mentioned, that one game, the bowl game last year, which I was thankful that I got to go up and see the game that day too. And it was a fantastic game, close for so long. I know the scoreline sort of does it a little injustice in the end, the final score, considering how close it was for 3 quarters. And, I think injuries played a big part with you guys on that day too. But have either yourself or has the team sort of used that disappointment as a motivator heading into this year to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I don't think we ever spoke about it as a thing, but I think naturally it just, it sucked. It was
Yeah.
awful to lose. It's awful to lose any game. I've done this around in different countries for a couple years, and it's not my first. I've won a couple finals, and I've lost finals, and every time it's like just as awful. And we might have been ahead of schedule last year, which is maybe the thing we can say to ourselves to make us feel like a tiny bit better about it. That a lot of our better players were young and whatnot, but still, like, definitely let one get away. So you want to make sure you're putting in the work, that you don't have that regret, that maybe, you just think back to all the things you could have done more or different or better. So definitely, yeah, that definitely. I didn't play personally. I think it was probably my worst game of the season, and so it's not a great time to have your worst game of the season, and so that as well. And so you just kind of try to put the steps in place to not do that.
Yeah,
Don't play
totally,
bad
totally.
on one.
Totally. And look, you're right when it comes to, losing's not fun. You know, I should know. We've gotten too used to it this year, and I think it's actually quite baffling um at times as well, that like you've lost one game, you're so disappointed. And you have that culture in the team of just winning, and like winning is obviously ingrained in the Rebels at right now, and you know a, a loss is seen as this major disappointment. Now, obviously, it is because it's in the final, but is it a point where now you're looking at individual plays, or quarters where performance isn't up to standards? And I don't know if the team does do video sessions or not during the week, but is there is do you find, if you do you find them, you know as a positive thing to sort of point out, not even to criticize, but point out this is where you can learn to get better?
Yeah, definitely. I find that the further a lot of guys are young now, so the best way to reach them is actually message them on WhatsApp. And so we've got Huddle there. You can see how long everybody's watched. You can see, kind of what they've watched. So you can put your notes on Huddle. A lot of teams have good setups to get good film, which is great. A lot of teams are sharing film, which is the other best thing, is that we all can, see what's going on. You can actually prep for, okay, we're playing this team. Here's the 4 games they've played. And then I usually send it as kind of like a couple. I'll do a playlist of the week of maybe here's the book of plays that we're going to run this week. Here's the 15 notes from last game. Here's the 15 notes for next game. Here's the 4 takeaways, and then the other, slot receivers number 1 takeaway, line main takeaway, so that it kind of can whole learning, and then give it in the video, the written where I'm making them handwrite it. I also do a lot of survey monkeys with them, just trying to kind of address if we struggle with anything, it's me not teaching properly and not reaching some type of learning method, whether they're a visual learner or they need to do walkthroughs. So we started doing Saturday walkthroughs, and we blocked a cone this season compared to last year where we didn't do the walkthroughs with the line and some of these things where if we block the right guy or if we slow it down and then speed it up, that's really helped a lot. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm rambling, but yeah, the more that we can coach, the more that we can have an open dialogue, the more that they can take coaching. And I say it's a democracy, it's a meritocracy of the best idea. So the whoever has the best idea of all of us on the offense, that's what wins here. So it's not a dictatorship. I'm not in charge. It's an idea meritocracy, but then I get to have the final say on who had the best idea. So I'm happy
Okay.
for if the left guard sends me we should run this poll, or I saw this video when I was watching Instagram, or I watched this NFL game. Could we try this? It all is open game. It means that they're learning and absorbing football. And if I have as many smart, raised IQ guys as possible, that's how the club gets better.
Yeah. And that actually leads into an interesting question I was going to ask too as well. You are the offensive coordinator as well as the quarterback. It's sort of your inspiration for coming up with plays. Where would you find that yourself? Is it a mixture of the different things like NFL, college, like that, maybe stuff seen on Instagram, or Do you have a sort of go-to sort of area that you look at to maybe if you want to come up with a few new plays?
I've had a lot of the offense I kind of developed myself slash got taught at different phases and then kind of built it out from that. And then that kind of had a base. And then as you go, you just kind of steal from everywhere and everything and you see something you like. So like there's 3 or 4 things that UCD did that now we run them pretty much the same way they do them. Or the Trojans started doing this one, kind of motion. So we said, okay, we'll do that motion. And so from ourselves, from anywhere and anything that we see, we say, yeah, we could do that. That would work against this. That would, isolate this guy or this person or get this guy the ball. It's such a creative game. So it is kind of fun that I probably have a little too much, whatever fun with it because there's no one telling me no, really. So I probably could focus it a little bit more at some stages, but yeah, for fun, it's good, definitely.
Well, look, I'm sure if you come up with a play and it doesn't work, I'm sure you'll hear it on the notes section of the video of the video sessions the next week anyway.
Me giving back the notes, so usually it's got to be their fault, not the play call fault.
That's it. That's it. They didn't execute. The play was
Yeah,
perfect. It
the
just
play was
was
a perfect call.
execution was the letdown.
Yeah,
but we have loads, and I mean loads of listener questions to go through. And I know we've been chatting for 15 minutes, and I can chat about the actual specifics of coming up with plays and stuff, and try and get into your mind all night long. But I know we have a fixed amount of time, so I'll go straight into a few of the listener questions here. First of all, I'll get into Kieran and Gilhood was first. He says, "What common mistakes do you see teams or players make in this league?"
um, I think find about 7 plays that you can get really good at and run those 7 plays. So I
Mm,
think that's what Andy Dennehy coaches. He used to coach the Rebels. He coaches the offense for the national team, and he runs 3 or 4 run concepts amazingly well, and 3 or 4 pass concepts that work off of those, and 1 protection, and then you can adjust off of those 7 things, but just like get down those 7 things. And I think that would be teams are kind of calling whatever, kind of what I was saying, where you can call anything in football. It's great, but and while I just promoted that, also, what are your 7 plays? What are your 10 plays or concepts? Not plays, concepts.
yeah.
So I think teaching it as a concept. Why do we run this play? Why do we run this concept? And then create that concept into a play and keep the number smaller than you think.
Yeah. That's actually very interesting because you know, coach Kevin Klatt, who was obviously used to coach the Panthers last year, and he came back to Wexford this year, and we faced him in Division Two, and he has something very similar to that. He on his offense, he has probably like that, maybe 5 run, 5 pass plays that he runs out of, especially with that triple I formation, and they know it better than the back of their hand. And as a defense, you know it's coming, you know what play is coming, but because everybody knows their job so well, it's almost impossible to stop.
Hmm.
And once you have all those guys on, once you have all the team on board, and and all the guys know how to run that play and execute that play well, it is very, very hard to stop. And look, it's interesting that it travels down even from divisions, not just from the Premier. Super duper JPK asks, Ty, have you considered playing left-handed from now on?
I have a really funny pinky finger on my left hand. I don't know if I can show that properly. I think
Oh.
I also have a funny ring finger. So definitely wouldn't be very good left-handed. That's for sure.
Well, look, that's a true linebacker sort of hand for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, they used to call me Tybo back when Tim Tebow was a thing. and that's because I ran even more back then and lifted even less. Or, I mean, it lifted even more and ran even more and threw even worse. So, uh, I had my Tim Tebow phase.
um. Okay. This one's a little close to home. Rachel Savage asks, "What sport will you put our kids in now they'll grow up here?" Bet he'll say all of them.
Definitely all of them. But I would. I think it's awesome that American football is going the way that it is, and that it'll develop. Even as someone who grew up in America, I don't think anything that I played before 14 had any value into the sport that I play today. It was mostly just like sprinting into each other. So I would have them be super active in all the sports: tennis, basketball, Gaelic, hurling, rugby. I've enjoyed the Irish sports and the community that's based around it. So definitely would get them into all those. But also, I think these American sports here are growing really fast. So I also coach a basketball club and kind of helped set that up. So definitely basketball. But yeah,
Yeah.
all
And then
whatever they
then
want.
it comes to about 16 years time, and they come to you and say, "Dad, I don't want to play American football." Hardest
That's cool.
conversation.
That's cool. That's cool. All good. Give it a try.
um.
Let's try. As long as they give it a try,
Well,
that's all right.
well, that's it. That's it. Liam Jeter asks, on a scale of the best ever to the greatest ever, how much do you love Liam, not Leamy?
Not Leamy. I love Liam, but Leamy also is very. Those are two new. Well, they're not new. They've been rebels forever, but we brought them back finally. We convinced them last year that we looked like we had enough potential, that they should come back and play some more football. So really talented guys and have been big leaders in our offense and big additions. If you don't know Liam Jeter and Sean Leamy.
Excellent. Arut95 says his picks for best players in each offensive position in Ireland. We'll just say lineman generally. We won't go
I could
center,
go.
guard, tackle.
I have to run into him, so I can probably go center guard tackle. Uh, John McDonald is the guard. The tackle would be their new American left tackle, number 73 for UCD. It's the best tackle, but it also could have been Harry Kerr, their previous left tackle who got injured. So one of those two. Um, and center would probably be Dave Shaw, Trojans, unless I'm not thinking of someone. And the running back would be Sean McVay or Brandon Atwell for UCD. And the receivers would be Finn if he's playing receiver. A bunch of the receivers are my guys, but Keen Lawler too for UCD. There's a lot, there's a common theme probably with my team here. I should probably think that some other teams a little bit more. Those guys are talented. Off defensive guys, you'd start picking a lot of Cork guys, like middle linebacker, you'd pick Marty Mulray, and outside linebacker, you'd pick AO. But still, some of those UCD guys like Brandon. Rory O'Dwyer's been a standout at safety this year for UCD.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. If you can't play QB, who would you want to play QB then?
For my team?
Yeah.
Sam Duran, my number 4 for us now. Sam's actually, he used to be the Wexford Eagles quarterback for forever. He's kind of turned into an athlete, everything with us. Steven or Aaron, yeah, one of the two.
Cool.
Today, but yeah, they're both got good players.
Some guy called Reggie, obviously left tackle from the Knights, asked, "Is there a certain D line player you've had to really pick out on tape as they're a handful?"
Robbie, the Robbie Alexander. I almost didn't think of Robbie's last name there. The easiest one you'll ever find. So the Knights defensive lineman. Second one, Patty Sweeney. He's nose guard back for UCD. He causes a lot of issues. But those two would be the first two to mind that, end up hanging out back where you are a little too often.
Yeah. Those Knights boys are big though, aren't they?
Yeah,
They
especially
are
Robbie.
huge.
They're all huge, and
Yeah,
he's the hugest of the huge ones.
yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know what they're feeding them down there at the Knights. We talked to Reggie on the show before about that, and we
yeah,
said the same things. Like he doesn't even know.
national team. Every time anyone runs a screen, Robbie is just he's just screen. Don't run a screen against Robbie. That's the key advice for Robbie.
And that'd be key advice for Turkey now in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, so let's all hush.
Ross McKenzie asks, as you also play linebacker, what's the best tips / videos to watch to maximize performance?
Watch Ray Lewis. um, I would say read your guards if you're playing inside linebacker, and you can always tell on film if a backer's reading his guards or has his eyes in the backfield, and that's pretty much the quickest way to tell. The guard will take you to the ball. If you're playing outside backer, read off of your tackle's V in his neck, be 3 yards outside of him, 1 yard off the ball, and able to lock your arms out with your thumbs up to defeat blocks. So a lot of guys don't know how to deal with defeating a block, I've noticed. So if you greet a guy, get your hand into his collar here and lock it out like a close grip, thumbed up bench press, and shed the block while keeping gap integrity. And then run.
Evan Allen asks, how handsome is Evan Allen really? And are all the amazing myths true about him?
Everything about Evan is even more true than I could have ever imagined of having Evan as a teammate. He's fantastic to have on your team because you could put him in the worst situation ever and he would still have like the best attitude, show up the first, do everything you could ever ask from him, and never miss a beat. So I've loved having Evan on the team.
John OC2 says, how does a quarterback keep calm in the heat of the moment?
That's pretty good. With me, we actually had a sports psychologist in college or would meet with us over in the States. A lot of teams have this for college teams over there. And the sports psychologist told me to stare at the left upright. I don't really do that anymore, but a thing I do here is I think of myself as two humans. And when I put on my glove, I almost take like a second to think of myself as a linebacker human. Like that's that version of myself. And then take them off and I like try to instantly, what my head coach Ross says to me is namaste. So we namaste to each other, and I've namaste back out to quarterback. And anything from then, you're like a duck, water off a duck's back.
Okay. We have a couple more. Dan Johnson. I think he's one of your wide receivers, isn't he?
He is.
He
He's a
is.
freak.
What does Ty like about teaching Irish athletes to play football, and what does he hate about teaching them? In other words, how are Irish athletes well equipped for playing football, and what are the annoying habits they have picked up from local sports?
I actually think that they're, of the 6 countries I've taught, probably my favorite to teach because there is a work ethic here amongst Irish people that I've found that is fantastic, and a kind of a desire to want to get better and a desire to actually be able to take somewhat, realistic and harsher coaching than I've given in other places. Probably Australia is the one that comes to mind where there's the biggest stark difference between an Irish guy's work ethic and a Australians. And I also just think the background, like Dan's a amazing hurler, so teaching Dan, to say he's guarding you instead of marking you, and then other than that, you pretty much got the sport pretty sorted, dude. Run over there. Yeah, it is funny. I've got the 2 Johnson brothers, and one wants to learn and tell him every reason why this happened. Why does this need to happen? What's the whole picture? Give me the macro. I want to know every inch of the game. And the other Johnson brother would be Dan, and he's more just like, what's my job? Let me make my job perfect. And so they're brothers, but they have 2 opposite learning styles. But they've both been a delight to teach football because they picked it up so quickly.
So we got a group of questions from a certain Chuck Henry, which
Nice.
is your dad. So we
Yeah.
we we were talking off air, and we believe that it's actually all of your family putting questions together, and it's just coming from dad's account. So there's a few that we can get through quickly. First of all, any chance the finals will be streamed so American fans can watch? We believe it will, because it was
Nice.
streamed last year. I'm sure they'll do the same thing this year for sure. If you win your next game, can we look forward to a new haka?
It wasn't a haka. We do songs on the bus ride back, and the Air Force Academy has a chant that they do when they win a game, and so it wasn't the haka. It wasn't New Zealand's cheer. It was the Air Force Academy's cheer that I did with the team after the victory on the
Yeah, I
bus.
saw that video actually. Yeah, I saw that video. It's pretty cool. You kind of mentioned this already there with Dan's question, but which countries play the best football outside of the United States?
Uh, well, the World Cup could mean one thing. So I actually got to go with Australia to the World Cup, and we got fifth. I was helping kind of coach and whatever there. And I think Canada got second and Mexico, but obviously the best domestic league after this would be Germany / turned into what European League of Football has become outside of the States. But the other thing I would say about Irish people is that they have no idea how capable they are in comparison to where we are versus where we think we are completely different things. So I felt like we're catching on now where the league finally has realized like, oh, these guys are actually like, there's a lot of really talented guys here. So I like that we are believing in ourselves more. If that's one way to say it.
Yeah, yeah. I guess you could say then, if tomorrow Ireland, we were trying to get. Oh, obviously we have an Irish team, but if an Ireland select 50 was to go up against a BAFA selection, we could probably hold our own.
Yeah, we can find ways to play. Like Spain's there's whatever 10th, 12th best country in Europe, and I played in the Spanish league before playing here, so I knew that Ireland versus Spain would probably be a slight advantage to Spain, but not stark. And that's exactly how the game played out. Whereas I think the rest of Europe, because we probably weren't putting ourselves out there as much and weren't bringing in as many Americans, they thought it was different. But that doesn't mean anything about your local talent if you weren't promoting it enough at the time. But now we definitely are doing a lot of those things so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wolfhounds will be able to play with a ton of teams in Europe. So it's exciting that we have a national team.
Yeah. And quickly, before we move on to some of the last questions there, the game against Turkey was announced for August in Cork. Will you be part of the backroom team for that, or will you be heading down for the game?
Yep. So I am. I don't think I'm supposed to technically talk too much without letting Alan know. But
Come on, throw in an exclusive here on the show, Ty. It's fine.
I don't have many exclusives. I help coach I'm the linebackers coach, and I just help coach the defense with Brendan. So Brendan's the big man of the defense. He's a great defensive coordinator. The Wolfhounds are like well set up with Brendan. Super impressed with everything he knows, and I just do whatever Brendan needs. We were hoping I could play, but no, not yet. There's a couple of us that are not quite there yet.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And just obviously, like we talked about from your knowledge of playing around, what are the chances you give the Wolfhounds against Turkey? I think they actually played their last competitive game was actually against Spain as well back in 2020, and I think they narrowly beat Spain. And obviously, we lost to Spain there a few months back or last year. So, how would you fancy the guys' chances against Turkey?
I think we've got the Wolfhounds. We always talk about teams being, better the next year. I think the Wolfhounds last year versus where we've brought that program is going to be incredible. So, I won't say anything that I'm not supposed to say or give too much or too little or whatever. But I'm super proud to be part of the Wolfhounds, and I love how proud to play for their country guys are and the work that they put in with the club, because it is almost, I will say, Coach Kieran has done a great job of making it when you're at Wolfhounds. It does not feel like he's a rebel and he's a this and he's a that. It just feels like you're just at the Wolfhounds team. We're our own club.
Excellent. Now let me see. Let's see. There was a few, so I'm just trying to see if we can get maybe one of the best ones that are left. Oh, this could be a good one. Right. List some of your favorite teams you played for in the last 7 years.
So I actually we'll go number one Rebels, but number two, I started the club in Australia, the Swan City Titans, and if you watched a Swan City Titans game and you watched a Rebels game, the warm up, the Rebels on 3, dominate on 6, the chant, the offense, it's all the same. So Titans would be number two, and those two kind of would be well ahead. And I'm still, great friends with those guys and help break down their film. And like one of my best friends from college, I brought him out there to play with me, so he's still kind of running a lot of it. And then my other best friend from down there in Australia still runs the club and is president of the club and head coach. So still super connected with the Titans and keep up with Gridiron Australia, Gridiron as they say there. And so they'd be number two, and then still pretty close with a lot of the Mallorca guys in Spain, but had good experiences in Brazil, and that would probably be fourth. Would be the Via Vela Tritos in Brazil. But those four would be the ones I stayed at for. It's different when you stay multiple seasons and you kind of kick around for a while, where you start to feel like you know everybody.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so that's all the listener questions. Thank you, everyone that popped in a few questions. Oh, hello, Doug. There, Doug. We got a special guest there for that. That's fine. Let's look ahead specifically to Sunday. And the game against the Trojans, of course, it's going to be a family fun day as well, which is going to be great for anyone that's coming down to the game. But like we mentioned earlier on in the show, you're just off a 60-0 win away to the Trojans. I guess the team has also had to not so much deal with, but sort of wait and see the outcome of this appeal from the Panthers when it came to obviously the result being reversed against the Trojans. So not you guys maybe not knowing for sure for a little while who you would actually be facing, but of course now it is the Trojans. After playing them so recently and after having such a comprehensive victory, is the message this week to the team to stress that you cannot rest on your laurels, that we have to play this as if, we haven't played them yet this year, that this is going to be obviously this is going to be your toughest game of the year. There has to be, make sure that heads are screwed on.
Yeah, I think it's really great that we have a video of everything that worked and everything that didn't work against the team we're about to play. And it's good film quality, and it's easy enough for us to review it and have everyone kind of remember what was going on. And so, yeah, I expect maybe that they might throw a couple different things at us. But other than that, if we just go execute and really we say get off the bus, but, home or away, but just go and get into the game straight away. And we'll figure ourselves out as we go. They're definitely that was the score, but the Trojans are a pretty good team. And I think they're better than last year. So I think we definitely need to still take it very serious, which we will. I am definitely going to make sure all the boys really study up between now and then.
Yeah, well, of course, and it's great that you do. You said that you can look at tape and see what went right and what went wrong. Now, let's be honest, not a lot did go wrong if you win like you won last Sunday or last Saturday. Sorry, I should say, but like you mentioned with the Trojans, that they're being better than last year. Obviously, last year they had this issue when it came to playing away from home. They seemed to not being able to perform as well as when they were at home. Now they've had some away wins this season, which has been great for them too. But themselves and yourselves, especially what they do off the field as well. They're sort of, pulling the sort of league forward in terms of what they do off the field, and obviously trying to translate that to on the field, which is working quite well too. But you know, I know you say when you come to play, creating plays, you sort of look at what other teams do well, but in terms of as a club, do you look at sort of things like what the Trojans do and sort of think we have to start incorporating it into our own team to help try and push this league forward and trying to get it into the mainstream?
Definitely. I think like I went to their Cork Trojans game, and then the very next game after that game, Cork is running a similar setup last weekend for their game in the big proper stadium with the castles and the foods and the this and the that. And it's not a coincidence that now at our game we are going to have bouncy castles and hot dogs and hamburgers and stream the game and everything as well. So it's definitely like it's great. It's fantastic that it's like it's way better than being in a league where nobody cares and nobody can't find out what time the game starts and there's no graphics of who's playing or what the scores were or who the teams are or anything like that. Like this is the best that it can be, and it'll continue to grow because of that. So um, yeah, they definitely took the lead on that, and it's just up to everybody to compete at everything. But it's a good competition. So it was legitimately a fantastic, enjoyable Saturday on the weekend.
Mhm.
No matter what the score would have been, like my son did not care that he did not even know that I played a football game. He just wanted to meet he was obsessed with Hector the Green Man, still is obsessed with Hector the Green Man, and the Spider-Man bouncy castle. That's all he talks about is the Green Man and the Spider-Man bouncy castle and blue ice cream. So he thinks those are like what happened when he goes to football games now. That's his standard. So
And then it's going to happen again now on Sunday. So yeah, he's going to get very used to it for sure. And I'm sure
exactly.
there'll
So
be
I told
something
him,
like that.
we got you, dude. Bouncy castle. It'll be there.
um, all that's missing now is for you guys to come running out of a black helmet,
Yeah.
for your entrances. But look, that can be a next season job. We can look into that for sure.
That's what-
Um, I'd only be I'd only. I just try. I've only seen De La Salle once, the game that I refed against the Minotaur. So I'm already working in my head where are we going to put it and where the guy's going to run out front. So
Yeah.
just let my mind just go for that for a second. But we're going to wrap it up here soon. The attention the league is getting, in terms of I think there's more now shows than ever highlighting the league week to week. There's more, Instagram updates. There's more social media updates. One thing I have to commend the league of, because I work on the socials for the Pirates. So one thing that I commend the league of, that when they started the season this year, is everybody released their schedules at the same time. So when you looked on your Instagram, I think at like 7 o'clock on that day, all you saw was schedules, and it sort of got people in that mindset that the league was starting soon. It's a big jump just from last year, but what do you think? What do you think needs to happen, or what would you like to see happen now, going on, following on the next couple of years, to sort of improve it more, to get the awareness out there?
I've honestly been like really, really impressed with everything, and like the standards and the quality are crazy different. So when I first got here, we had 800 followers, 850-ish followers of the Rebels, who were still, a great team. We had more on Facebook and whatnot, but we're now over 6,000 some followers. And at first, I was doing the graphics, and we got to a phase where everyone in the league's graphics were so good that I couldn't. I was like, I can't keep this job because I can't keep up with all these other people. We literally need someone who knows how to do this, which is a good thing. We outcompeted me as a graphic man, which is definitely good. But yeah, that's going to lead to everyone uh, getting players, and then that's the whole thing, is just bring as many people in, see if they like it, give them a try, have a way for them to play games safely, practice safely, get a good standard of coaching, have youth teams, have flag teams, have men's and women's flag tournaments and cups, and everything like that, and just be as inclusive as possible was all that I would ever argue about or say needed to happen. And the league has like been knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
So that's what the league's been doing, and that's what the Rebels are trying to do at the same time, and keep that as our kind of shining North Star, no matter what happens in games. That's kind of a moot point compared to the recruitment and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, you guys have been huge, and just the even this little like thing going across the bottom here and a video and Spotify and Apple and all, it's on YouTube as well or whatever. Like that's just some random kid's gonna that so many have just showed up and they said, yeah, I saw a video on that's my starting left guard. He's like, yeah, I actually he saw me on your show last year just talking crap and said, oh, I live right around the corner from De La Salle Palmerston and now I got a star left guard. So that's the more you do, you never know when you're gonna find your left guard.
Yeah, see, that's all I want. I just wanted to get the self praise from you there. That's all. I just wanted to get that from.
Exactly.
But then also, I'm kind of a little pissed now too because you got a new player out. I'm trying to get new players for the Pirates here, man. That's what I'm trying. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Any guy around, any guy or girl, any part of the country that watches this and wants to get playing football, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's all that I want to see for sure. We normally do predictions at this point of the show. There is only 2 games. There's no really point asking about the Rebels Trojans because we know who you're going to pick. But let's talk about Admirals and UCD. A repeat of last year's semi-final, obviously flipped in the sense that the Admirals are at home this time, especially coming off beating UCD earlier on in the season. But who do you think is... If you don't want to say who do you think is going to win, but who do you think is the bookies' favorite heading into this game?
Yeah, I think the bookies would have it's hard to, which is the same thing I'll say about if we end up, it's hard to beat a team multiple times in a year. So it's good that it's in Cork. It's good that they can, they've maybe made a little bit of a roadmap for how to win. But I think UCD's kind of improved. Definitely, they played Cork like the 3rd game of the season, and then having played UCD the 1st game and the 5th game, that was a solid difference between the 1st game and the 5th game. So I would expect to see UCD on July 16th in Cork. But
okay, excellent.
the Admirals are a tough team with Brennan, so I don't want to count them out. Definitely, don't count out that defense.
Yeah.
Hard to win if you don't score points. So that's Brennan's job. If Steven manages the game well and Brennan holds him out and that kind of way, they can throw the ball to Jack, then Cork could definitely win it. And I don't think it'll be last year they kind of got away from Cork. UCD kind of ran wild. So we'll see. But I think it'll be a little lower scoring than last year, but I would pick UCD.
Yeah. And that's how we were talking to Brendan last week and in doing the research, I looked through their results and just how good their defense have been. It's been only one occasion that they've conceded more than 20 points in a game this year, and that was obviously against yourselves. And it just shows that defense has been, locked in this whole season, and it has gotten the better of a lot of good teams. And I guess that's what it is. A team is only as good as its defense.
Right. And they when they played us, they didn't have Marty, who's their middle linebacker. And so they kind of have Ao and Marty to play off each other. Ao for kind of outside runs and Marty for inside runs. And then if you have to move Ao for the inside runs, then they kind of were down an outside run / pass coverage situation versus us. And I could kind of take advantage of that, but they're not that was their Cork's great defense. So it'll be a fun game to watch, and I hope that might be a blood match. It's gonna be very, very physical.
For sure. But listen, Ty, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you again. Your knowledge of the game is absolutely fantastic. I have to ask you though a question outside of football before we finish up, because like you mentioned, you've been here now in Ireland a couple of years. Looks like you're not going to be going anywhere for the next little while. Have you been converted to tea yet?
To tea? No.
Yeah.
No, it tastes horrible. horrible brown weather stuff. It's just it's dreadful. I've tried to fake it a couple times with a couple things, but no, only can so far. Yeah.
This disappointed me, man. Just disappointed me. I'm sorry. And then look, there's a burning question going on between us and another show as well at the moment. We need to get your input.
Yeah.
Tato from the south or Tato from the north? Which one are you pulling for?
We actually even had a conversation about this because we've got a guy from up north on our team who took the kids up to make sure they got the proper orange Tato man apparently at the Trojans game. But I would have only known the pre-orange Tato man, the South. But I don't want to get to, I don't know any stuff about any of that kind of stuff, so I won't.
You don't want to be getting dragged into a war, but I'm going to take it as gospel now that you said the Southern Tato is the best Tato, and if anybody has any issues with that, I'll send them on to your Instagram for sure. But like I said, it's been absolutely fantastic. Best of luck on Sunday. Hope to be there now myself to catch the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And look, listen, wish you all the luck, and hopefully we might be seeing you in Cork for the Shamrock Bowl.
Cool. Sounds good. Appreciate it, Derek.
Actually, one more time before I let you go, if there is anyone watching, they are interested in playing, and they're in the Palmerstown area, where's the best way to get in contact with the Rebels about possibly coming down to a training session?
Yeah, just send us a message on Facebook or Instagram or email. Probably Instagram is best, or just show up every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. We have flag, and every Saturday at 9:30 we'll have youth or some kind of senior guys walking around to meet people and have open. Come meet us. Come try football. Come and try days. As often as possible.
Stuff. Excellent stuff. And that's where we're going to wrap up this edition of the show. Before we do go, if you are watching this video on YouTube, make sure you have liked it and you are subscribed to the Under Center podcast on YouTube, because that's where you'll be kept up to date with all the latest shows. And let us know in the comments, who do you think is going to be the Shamrock Bowl matchup of 2023? And make sure you're following us on our own socials at Under Center Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Best places to find us. Under Center Podcasts. Just search for that wherever you listen to your podcasts. And that's where you'll be able to listen to us on the go as well. I've said the word podcast too many times in the last minute, so that's where I'm going to wrap up this edition. Ty, again, thank you so much. Until next time, guys, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.